guys, we're here now with our 2017 Tesla Model X, and what a difference a year makes. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the exterior, see that there's no major differences in terms of the design, in terms of the look of the car itself as we walk around it. Everything else is pretty much the same. Again, the fit and finish of the 2016 version was a little bit different just because it had some more wear and tear because of being a loaner or demo car. This one is ours, so we were the first owners. So the wear and tear is indicative of how we care for the car. So it's pretty good. Again, 2017 Tesla Model X, a big difference in a year, lots of different features in terms of refinements. But other than that, it remains largely the same type of vehicle, okay? Just taking a look at it, walking around, get to see the look of it, get to see the fit and finish. Again, a lot cleaner as well than the previous 2016 version of it. But again, looks pretty much exactly the same as the 2016 version. Doesn't have the active spoiler, so it's just the static spoiler. Doesn't go up and down, it just stays static just like that all the time. But everything else the same body style, same exterior trim pieces, wheels, tires, trim, everything is the exact same thing, okay? As we scroll around a little bit more, we'll also take a look at the doors. So I'll pop the doors open now. Start to see those come up as well. All good stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. The only major difference between this one and the 2016 one we looked at before is the fact that this is a 5-seater versus a 7-seater, and we have the white interior. Okay, so taking a closer look, this is the 5-seater. Again, the pedestals, as you see before, the automated pedestals are gone. Those chrome wrapped or chrome metal-ish or even plastic pieces are gone. And now we just have basically just these sort of metal posts that the seats sit on. If you want to move the seats, you can't move them, but they do recline a bit. So again, different between the other one is that the other ones didn't recline because they were sort of static seats on posts that move forward and backwards and articulate at the joint down there. These, they actually go backwards. So if I was to hold this down with the camera and push back, you'll see that they fold back a little bit to give your passengers a little bit more reclining space here, which is actually very comfortable to be in, to be able to have that option. Okay, just taking a look at the little trim here, you'll see that these are folded back, those are folded up. And when you want to fold them down, you have to sort of hold them, use a little bit of muscle. And you can now fold the seat down like that. Just taking a look at the cargo space. Lots of cargo space in the Model X in general, just because it's an SUV, but also just the body style, similar to the Model S. The difference here with the Model X, obviously, is going to be the height, right? How much verticality you get in terms of the stuff that you can store in here, all right? So that's pretty good. Nothing different there. The other major difference that we're going to look at here between 2016 and 2017 was the removal of those finicky knobs, those switches. So now we have more standard knobs and switches, just push buttons instead. A lot easier to maintain over time, a lot easier to press, pretty straightforward, okay? Press this one to close, press this one to open. It works no problem. If the door gets stuck for whatever reason and you need to open it further, when it opens, you just hold this down, it'll open further, okay? So that's pretty much it in terms of what the interior has to offer. In terms of differences, everything else, again, is exactly the same. One other thing to note, just as I say that, is the fact that because this is a 5-seater, there's no additional ventilation right here. No additional ventilation right here. And so what winds up happening is that there's no passengers back here, and therefore there's no need to cool this back area. That's I guess the premise behind that. However, what I did notice through the years of owning this vehicle is the fact that that extra ventilation is actually beneficial even for 5-seaters. So as we have a child now, we have a rear-facing child seat. And so what happens is, for passengers, these are your vents, right? So these are your vents that blow air into the passenger seat. And if it's facing forward, it's fine. You also have the ones on the post here that are also blowing forward. These are blowing forward. But for children in rear-facing child seats, that air doesn't really get to them. The seat pretty much blocks that air. So that actual vent up here would come in handy to help ventilate this area and bring some more air down to the child. or children that you may have in the car. So that's the one little issue I noticed that I think would be solved with a 7-seat configuration. But again, just bringing that same tech to the 5-seater. So otherwise, that's pretty much it. Everything is the same. Model X is still here on the doors, and then Model X is also, or the X, I should say, is also down here as well. Same thing for the 2016 model as well. And then everything else, again, the same. If you have performance variant, you're gonna get those silver pedals. Other than that, identical. Okay, coming back here to the trunk, if I pop that open as well, you'll start to see this particular view of it. And again, lots of cargo space, lots of room in here. Those back panels come down. I'm not going to open that right now because we got a little bit more junk in there than we need to have. But those open up for additional storage as well. Because you don't have the seat there, there's a little additional shelf of paneling right here. And then right here is the big dip where you have lots of storage that you can put down there. Again, pretty much straightforward. Again, no big difference between 2016 and 2017, but in terms of refinements, big differences, major differences in refinements from 2016 to now 2017. Okay, let's give you a bit of a wider shot here. Taking a look at it. Again, beautiful car, great combination of the SUV utility and Tesla and EV experience of driving, okay? Beautiful, beautiful car, beautiful styling, and just a great car in general. Let's take a look at the inside. Let's take a look and see what's different there and different from 2016 to now 2017 in just 1 year. All right, as we approach the vehicle, we start to see the stalks. Stalks are identical, no difference there. Fit and finish is there. You have the nice soft touch materials here. You have the white instead of the black from the 2016, and you have the dark ash wood decor in this one as opposed to the other wood paneling. Okay, this is the same. You still have the Alcantara here with the leather mix in terms of the difference of materials. And again, white seats. These white seats are great. They're actually much softer and more plush than the black versions of these or the black older seats from the 2016 version. They hug you better and they feel a lot plush, more like memory foam as opposed to, you know, just a car seat. Okay, we're in the car now. Let's close all the doors. This menu stays the same, is indicative of, you know, the car in general. So no difference between 2016 and 2017 in that regard. Brings up the doors, allows you to close them, and displays sort of the sensors as well, just to show you what's close to the door if there's any body or any obstacle there. All right. In addition to this, I'm going to put some air on just because it's a little toasty outside. In addition to that, what you'll notice, as I mentioned before, is you'll notice that on the menu here, there is no more seats menu because we don't have the moving seats in the back. There's no need to have controls for them. So that seats menu is gone. And now we have a standard set of menu options here that are also reminiscent of that earlier version as well. Suspension, okay, going high, very high, low. In this particular update, in this particular release, we have the latest version of the software. The 2016 version had the older version of that software as of the time of this recording. So the menu is a little bit different, but the functionality is still the same. Being able to go from very high, high, standard, low, and very low. This is indicative of the Model X and the SUV experience, being able to give you that high ground clearance, okay? In addition to that, everything else pretty much stays the same. Obviously, with new Autopilot between 2016 and 2017, we go from Autopilot 1.0 Mobileye tech with the camera and setup to now the Tesla Vision system that we have in place. So this is going to give us a whole host of other features that that car does not have, including all that you see here with the Navigate on Autopilot, and Summon, as well as additional features, lane departure, warning, as well as auto lane change and all that good stuff. So that's the only difference in terms of the visual, the interface here is just 2016, you're going to have that older tech, that Mobileye tech. 2017 and beyond, you're going to have the Tesla Vision tech ready to go and whatever features that affords you. All right. This particular car, if we go into details, is running different hardware, obviously hardware 2.0 versus hardware 1.0 in the selection here. Let me zoom in a little bit further so you can try to take a look at that. That's what we got here. Again, hardware 1.0 was 2016. Now 2017 has hardware 2.0. As I mentioned before, we talk about the infotainment processor being the NVIDIA Tegra. I think that remains largely the same. And then the motors are induction versus induction small. And then we have some additional features based on the audio system being premium and all that good stuff. All right, so that's pretty much what we have in terms of the differences of this car in the inside. Again, just taking a step back further, you have now this white here and then white seats. And I believe at one point they sort of changed this to just be black no matter whether you got the white seats or not. We'll see about that when we jump into a newer car. But at the end of the day, this is a really, really refined experience in terms of the fit and finish that they've done within 1 year. Again, the loaner had a little bit of abuse, but beyond that abuse, there was still some things inherent to that 2016 model year. 2017 looks to rectify that in that regard. So again, all good. All right, so let's take it out on the road. Let's drive a little bit. Let's see what the differences are. See if you can hear any differences or see any differences as we drive around with this particular car, the 2017 Tesla Model X. Let's take off. Let's put it in gear. As you notice, fit and finish is there, so a lot quieter, not as many squeaks and rattles. There is one squeak in particular that I covered in my Model X 2-year review. That's on the seat, the plastic rubbing against the plastic. That's pretty much the only sound that we're going to hear here in terms of squeaks and rattles, but it is something to note, something that they haven't completely rectified in their adjustments and refinement to the Model X. Again, we could have just got a bad one ourselves, so I'm going to chalk it up to that. We'll see what happens when we drive 2020, see if that's still an issue in terms of the fit and finish and the materials that they used and the practices that they use for keeping the cabin quiet. Otherwise, a very, very quiet ride, very, very smooth ride. Again, Model X is really where it's at in terms of having that Tesla smooth, quick experience in a spacious cabin. In a spacious cabin with that big panoramic, if you will, windshield. A little bit of motor noise. I actually like it. Sounds futuristic and sci-fi. A little bit of motor noise as you drive. Sometimes it sounds like a truck. There's certain frequencies that certain trucks make when they speed up. It sounds a little bit like a truck at times to me. And going a little faster, nice and smooth. Again, you'll notice maybe it's not picking up on the mic. Hopefully it is. That sort of squeaking noise from the plasticky part of the seat. Comes to a stop really nicely. Brakes are still good. Acceleration is good. The overall experience is just a really good experience from the 2017. I feel more comfortable. I feel like I'm in a more settled car that's been refined a little bit. Again, that's the key word when it comes to these cars and year-over-year evolution. But this one specifically is 1 year after, or even maybe less than 1 year after the initial launch in 2016, which is the one we drove previously. Now we're in a better situation. Just for reference, this particular VIN is a 5,000 VIN. So a 1,700 VIN in the first one to a now 5,000 VIN on this one. Okay, so a big difference in about 3,000 or 4,000 cars later. We have a big difference in terms of refinement and adjustments. With some acceleration, again, Model X's are pretty much front-loaded in terms of acceleration, so you feel a lot of that up front. It's exactly the same as the other one, 90D, so no difference in terms of battery, no difference in terms of motor. The difference is just going to be any refinements, incremental updates that Tesla's made over time, and that's what we're seeing right here. Okay, I'm going to actually hold this piece in so I reduce the friction that it makes, the sound that it makes, and see how it goes. Now it's almost near silent. All you hear is the road noise and the tires on the pavement. You don't hear any squeaks and rattles at all as I drive down this windy road. All right, so this is really, really, really good by Tesla, and this is a continuous deployment. So just like in software, where you have continuous development, where you're continuously updating and modifying software, Tesla has that same process for its cars. So not necessarily model years, although the entire industry is structured around that, so they have to conform a little bit in terms of designating something as a model year, but it's continually improving these cars over time. So again, in 1 year's time, or a little bit less than 1 year's time, this is the finished result. This is the product of that refinement, of those continuous updates. New handles for the door, new switches for the door, okay? New seats, new seat configuration, new pedestals, new sound dampening, all that good stuff, all that refinement based on feedback from owners, as well as just the development process. Okay, you hear that regenerative braking kicking in, really good there, no problem. All right, I'll let go of the plastic piece just to let it do its thing so I can be fair and continue to drive down this road. Let's see what happens when I hit a couple of bumps on this one, see how bad it is. Not too bad. Not too bad on that one as well. A little bit of a manhole. I'm gonna hit this one. Pretty loud, and you probably heard that louder than it actually was with the mic picking it up, but it's pretty loud. Just because there's no engine noise to drown it out. I've been in cars that are a lot more expensive, but that price and that cost goes into more sound dampening techniques around the motors of those cars, around the cabin, using different glass, all that good stuff. Tesla's tech is the pricey point of the car, right? That's what's making it expensive, is the tech, is the batteries and the motors and all that stuff. When they can get that technology down in terms of cost by producing everything internally and doing it at scale, that's when you're gonna start to see them spend more money on other things that the Bentleys, the Rolls Royces, Mercedes-Benz, all those good things have in terms of creature comforts, quieter cabins, quieter tech in that regard. All right, but again, if you're paying for this type of car, you're gonna pay the premium, and that's really gonna be the tech. This size, this amount of range, this amount of power and torque, all that good stuff, as well as the Falcon Wing doors, which are also expensive, but also very, very valuable, especially if you have a large family, not just a parlor trick. Other than that, 2017 Model X is a great car. It has Autopilot 2.0, which is also great. And it also has MCU 1, which can be upgraded to MCU 2. So if you're in the market, I would definitely suggest getting a 2017 or newer Model X. Don't go any older than that in terms of 2016 because you see the difference. So I would definitely buy one of these if the price is right. It has a lot of the good features that we like. It's upgradable to an extent, meaning I can upgrade to the latest MCU, which makes my screen a lot more responsive and gives me some new features that I otherwise wouldn't have in an older car. But let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take a look at the 2020 version of the Model X and see how that compares to now this 2017, and again, the previous and initial 2016.